Hello guys, it is me, Sharky, and I'm your new host of today, and I don't know why I'm talking like this, but it's fun and gimmicky. So today with me, as always, is my good friend.
Hello, it's Spotted Alien.
And we are here once more. Once again, Hungry Zombie is absent due to life situations. He had
Once again, just us two.
So yeah, we're very lonely over here. It's getting kind of cold. I think we should look into getting that new heating unit. But yeah, today we're talking about the kaijus again today. We have to discuss Gaonaga and Scaos.
Yep,
but,
I expect these two will be very anticipated.
Oh yeah, I've been anticipating both of these for a while. I'm really excited to talk about them. First kaiju we have to discuss today, Spaling, is Gaonaga, the giant samurai kaiju, and he's very samurai-like.
Also, sort of reminiscent of another giant. In terms of I don't know. What do you want to call that, motif? Or he seems.
I don't want to use the word stereotype, but that's what first comes to mind. But I don't.
He almost seems like the CKC Godzilla, except he's not going to be in the first release.
Yeah, which is. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But you could almost say he's the kaiju samurai.
Yeah.
I can't wait till
much like another person who may or may not go by the moniker of kaiju samurai.
Yeah, Simon Strange. So that was a very long joke for very little payoff. Regardless, Gaonaga is pretty cool, honestly. I actually really like him because he does have that very Godzilla-esque style, but he brings a lot of new things to the table. As we mentioned, he has the very samurai motif. He has this, like, crest, which is reminiscent of the samurai helmets. And he's got a double tail, which has giant sword blades on it, which looks awesome.
Yeah, he's very Godzilla-ish, but he's not very Godzilla.
It's very interesting. There's very clear differences between the two that makes him stand out a lot to me.
Yeah.
In the community, Gaonaga is a little infamous because during the roster votes for the first game, Fall of Nemesis, everyone thought he was going to get in because he seemed like a shoo-in because he's such a solid design. So nobody voted for him because they thought everyone else was going to vote for him and he didn't get in.
Yeah, that was...
So yeah.
I think that, he was one of the few monsters that just did not get the support to get in the first release. Do we want to say he might get in the second release, or do we not want to talk it out for fear of jinxing it?
Let's say that we didn't, and just move on from here.
Yeah.
He's actually very tall, honestly. I was kind of surprised at his height, but he's 103 meters. That's nothing to scoff at. The tallest monster in the game is like 120, I think.
Yeah, about 123-ish, I believe. I think that goes to Tian Lung, but I'm not sure.
Basically, he's almost as... I don't want to say almost, but he's like catching up on Mora Titan, who is the tallest character in the actual game at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's pretty tall. So yeah, his coloration is great. I love his coloration.
I'm kind of okay. Red as a primary cover has been hit or missed for me.
I think the thing I like is, although I wish they would kind of go more directly with this, is the claws and like horns and spikes coming off of him, I feel like should be closer to gold, because I feel like red and gold is a good combination for him. But they feel a bit too like beigey. I guess it makes sense because they're supposed to be bones, but...
Yeah, to be honest, Gaonaga is just sort of... He's on the upper end of my favorites, but he's not one of my most favorites.
I think I would agree with you on that. He's definitely on my... I definitely like him, but he's not in my top 10, I would say.
Yeah.
His origin is pretty interesting. There was a planet in space, and there were a bunch of lizards there that had super, super long lifespans, to the point of almost being immortal, but not quite. So the peoples of this planet were like, these lizards, we can make experiments on them and Because science. Because that's the reason for every experiment on anything ever.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Jurassic Park. That ended well.
Oh, absolutely. They're making a fourth one that is hopefully not gonna suck. Please don't suck, Jurassic World. That's a sidebar for another day. But eventually, as a side effect, they made Gaonaga. And they're just like, oh, that happens. So he kind of just showed up as a byproduct of their experimentation. And what happened is they introduced these bacteria into him, which increased the abilities of the lizards to regenerate naturally. And this resulted in the creation of a third eye in his forehead, which became just like, it just makes energy is all it does. It just sits there and makes energy.
Which is the basis for his ranged attacks and such.
So yeah. Unfortunately, they never were able to convert the immortality from Gaonaga to their own species, the people of this planet. And what's more, they ended up realizing that because he was so big and he was a kaiju, he would create these like bursts of just random energy explosions. And those attracted other kaiju from space to come and investigate. So they freaked out because kaiju were just coming from space and screwing stuff up. So they shot Gaonaga into space and just were like, be somebody else's problem. And then he landed on Earth, and that's where he is now.
It would be very convenient if he also landed in Japan. That almost seems a bit too convenient, honestly.
Point. And just right in Tokyo Bay.
Yeah. Anywho.
His energy system, just basic stamina. He just regains it over time. Nothing special. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting considering how much emphasis they put in his origin in regards to the energy system. It's just a normal energy system, so I don't know. I feel like maybe that deserves to be changed. I feel like he could go for a whole new energy system of some variety. I don't know what, but
yeah,
I feel like he could.
Yeah.
But that is what it is. He is a charging style combatant, so he's all about charging in, doing damage, getting out, and then charging again.
Yeah, he's primarily charging. He has a little bit of melee. He's a bit more melee, I guess.
Yeah, I would assume that charging more or less entails like more focus on melee than range.
Yeah, more. He's just not very focused on melee on little scuffles for long.
Yeah, he's a hit and run character, I would feel.
Yeah, so he wouldn't be someone like Duncan, whose whole thing is they
hopping around and mucking stuff up.
Yeah, they need to get up close to deal damage.
Yeah. So in ranged combat, he doesn't have much. He has this thing called the Luminous Cannonade, which says it serves best at close quarters, but doesn't say much as to what it actually is. Just kind of says it's good against prone opponents. That's it. So I'm guessing it's like a grenade or something. I don't know.
Possibly.
And then
he also has the energy spear, which are quick projectiles, which I'm guessing use little energy,
do little damage.
Yeah, but are good for quick.
Yeah, they're little like interrupting attacks, like somebody's like setting up for the sweep with a giant combo, and then you just energy spear their face, and then they get mucked up, and you can go in for the kill. But yeah. Grappling wise, Gaonaga's covered in heavy armor of scales that like overlaps, and it looks really cool. But as a result, it makes him really difficult. It makes it difficult for him to move in such a way as to like pick stuff up. So he's not very good at grappling.
He's not a particularly strong grappler. He's more not in the sense that he grabs opponents to constrict them. He just tries to either get them away or redirect the battle.
Yeah, just kind of put them in a position where he can just absolutely rain hell on them in some way.
Yeah, where you can deal damage.
Yeah. Melee combat, as we said before, is probably the only area that has any real definition to it, because he's all about just charging in, doing melee for a bit, and then running away, and then repeating. So, for the most part, he actually uses his tail as a melee weapon, which is really unique, because most kaiju use their fists or their claws or their mouths or whatever.
Wonder if that has anything to do with the samurai motif. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
Yeah, basically. He's got double swords at the end of his tail, so yeah, just brings it up and can attack from a bunch of angles with very little telegraphed warning, apparently.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to work animation-wise. And that's probably going to need at least for some of the stronger attacks, a fair bit of startup animation in order to get it going.
Like, because the thing is, it's difficult to make a tail look like unnoticed, like harm. I don't want to use the word harmless, but it's difficult to make a tail something you're not keeping an eye on as a weapon.
Yeah.
So making it look like, just, there's nothing here but us mice kind of situation is the best way I can describe that for some reason. Is difficult. But yeah, he can also use his hands if he needs to, which nothing special.
Yeah, he's primarily going to inflict edged damage, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, he can also use his shoulder spikes as weapons, but they get more damage if they're used like as part of charging than if he just like shoves them against somebody just from standstill.
Which, speaking of doing damage to his armor, that's one of the main gimmicks and weaknesses of Gaonaga is
his armor breaks.
Yeah, and even though it probably gives him a fair amount of defense. If it breaks, he is a little bit more helpless and needs to rely more on charging to get in and out.
Yeah, I think he becomes more mobile, doesn't he, when he gets
I don't know. I just know that he doesn't. It's probably a bit preferable for him to have armor on.
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah,
but
otherwise, it's a sort of turtle out of its shell kind of deal.
My assumption is that the less armor he has, the more and more he becomes a glass cannon. Like, he's capable of dealing some damage, and at better rates than before, but he cannot take hits anywhere near as good.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. Simon can confirm or deny, of course, after he reviews this episode, but that's for another day. He is a hero, basically. He goes around saving children, or whatever.
As far as we know, yeah.
Doesn't seem to have any ill intent for the human race, which is always good. It's good to have a couple good guys every once in a while.
Yeah.
When we have giant monsters just ripping apart every national landmark, it's good to have a few that are just willing to kind of put them back together.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. It's kind of...
unless
you want to just watch every single monster movie backwards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can just do that.
Then it's just a peace story,
Yeah. With a lot of moonwalking towards the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it for Gaonaga. Not too much to discuss, but he is an interesting character. I find it interesting that, granted how much, I do like him, but there's not too much to say about him, really.
Yeah, he seems to generate a lot of hype, but that's primarily due to how we kind of... my personal theory, that's kind of primarily due to how we seem to associate him a bit with that sort of Godzilla figure.
Yeah, I feel like Gaonaga is one of those kaiju that does a really good job as the face of CKC. You could stick him on the cover of a game and it would.
Yeah, though he wasn't the first, and it's arguable that Macro might be. But
yeah, I mean, arguably Macro would be the.
Well, yeah, technically we could argue for a lot of them, like Nemesis, More Titan.
Yeah, absolutely, but he's definitely a candidate. He could definitely do it. He could pull it off. He probably wouldn't be the first choice, especially, for Fall of Nemesis, because he's not in it.
Yeah.
But in a future game, he could easily be on the cover.
Hard to be the face of something you're not in.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for Gaonaga. And now we talk about Scows. Alright, guys, so now we're talking about the next kaiju today, Scows, or Scaos, as Spalian says.
Yeah, I say Scaos, you say Scaos. Potato, tomato.
Yeah,
Let's call the whole thing off.
Alright, yeah, basically. So that's it for today's podcast, guys. Scows is really damn cool. I really like Scows.
Yeah, there's just something about Scaos that's really, really interesting.
His design, it's kind of hard. We should probably talk about his origin before we talk about his design.
Yeah.
His origin plays heavily into it.
Basically, Scaos is sort of a psychic empath. He's able to feed
on emotions.
Absorb the emotions of others, but at the detriment to his psyche. So when he was enslaved by all these people, to basically absorb all their sinful thoughts, all their negative emotions, all their desires and stuff like that. Yeah.
It kind of drove him insane.
Yeah, and that kind of he's probably just gonna have to lash out.
His mind, he's like one of those like this is your mind, this is your brain on drugs commercials.
I mean, for me, he really and I don't know why, but he just kind of reminds me of something out of Tim Burton.
Oh, you're so right. You're really right, actually. This is a very Tim Burton-esque.
And there's just something I really like about that. And I just really like how you could characterize him in black and white, even though he kind of needs a couple other colors, but just
he has a little bit of blue.
Yeah, primarily in black and white, he could absolutely work. He kind of has those little spines and hairs coming out of him, which
like quills or something.
Yeah, which look really, really interesting and would be visually appealing. And just he has this. Obviously, this is something people can complain about, but edge. He has a pretty good bit of edge.
Yeah, he is the edge. I think I might have cut myself just
like literally. His spines are kind of sharp looking. They sort of jet out from him. All his appendages sort of jet a little as well. His shoulders, his elbows, his knees. And there's just something I really like about that. He's just one of my favorite monsters. And I definitely dig what's it?
The crazy kind
of... The asylum look, yeah.
Yeah, asylum's a really good word for it, actually.
Has the face mask and the
muzzle,
chains.
the chains, the what are those things called? I'm trying to remember. I want to call them handcuffs. What are these?
Not straight jacket.
Let me look through the wiki real quick. It says somewhere in here.
Shackles.
Yeah,
shackles.
There we go. It took longer than it should have to find that word, but yeah, it looks really great on him.
Yeah.
And he's such a good design. He's easily my favorite kaiju of the senior kaijus, as I call them.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my top 10, and he's definitely on my list of kaiju to do fan art of. But anyway, excuse me.
So, design-wise, he's just great. I love how his tail looks skeletal, also.
Yeah.
I feel like that says something about him being, like, emaciated to an extent. He's really thin, too, for a kaiju. He's not very large.
Yeah.
His art, the human next to him, looks a lot bigger than it should, I think, honestly. So it's really interesting in that regard. So, yeah. His energy system's also pretty interesting, which is that he regains energy, but only when he has the shackles on. And when his shackles break, which is a really big part of his combat, is that his restraints will break periodically after taking too much damage. He does not regain energy anymore until they repair themselves.
Yeah.
So,
but that sort of plays into his being an empath. The shackles are designed to make him absorb stuff, but once that gets taken off, he is free to do whatever the frick he wants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In range combat, all he can really do while shackled is like reflect stuff with like a force field, which is really cool. Actually, we need more of that in this game because with this like 3D fighting engine that we have with like lasers and fire breath, like reflection is a really good idea in regards to range combat. And he can also use his melee weapon, which is pretty good.
But when his shackles are taken off, he can basically, he's basically Mewtwo, and he can, actually no, not Mewtwo, Yu-Gi-Oh, and he can mind crush you.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is if you remove the muzzle, he can channel all of that horrible pain, anger, hatred, and misery into
because
just
remember,
one straight attack.
He's a mental empath. He takes all of what sins they have given to him, and he is just able to redirect it. And that's just something that's really, really kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get over how good he is. He's just such a good design. Okay. Grappling, he's actually very strong, considering he's so small, but he has shackles, so you can't grab things when you have shackles. So, yeah. That makes it kind of difficult for him.
But he can use his abilities to just kind of redirect the battle a bit and sort of control the flow of combat.
If I were the game dev behind this character, honestly, I would make it so that when his shackles are broken, he can actually use his mind to lift things. Because I just think that sounds cool. And it would fit
well, he's not really a telepath.
I guess, but I feel like it would make sense. Or maybe he can, maybe not to lift things, but like if he gets into a grapple, like he'll do some sort of mental attack that does.
Yeah, like Ghost Rider's penitent stare.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is a melee combatant primarily, so he does best in melee. And even when shackled, he's actually very capable of doing some damage. The shackles are great for like blunt damage,
bludgeoning and stuff like that.
Yeah, his legs are good for kicking, and he has his long tail, which looks like it can be used as a very effective whip.
Yeah, maybe he can even grapple with it a bit.
Oh yeah, that's another good idea. So yeah, it's I guess his big problem though is he has difficulty getting any sort of leverage on them when he's shackled, because he can't really like move them in any specific direction besides just kind of like pushing back. I don't know. That's just
it describes his major weakness as just being psychotic.
Yeah.
Which, depending on your position, that's not a weakness, but
yeah, it depends. The insane man has no mind to break.
Yeah, so, but at the same time, he'll act like he has nothing to lose.
Yeah, so it's he's very much a double-edged sword, as the wiki describes him. He has incredible powers, but these powers at the same time really fall back on him and can cripple him in some ways. So yeah, he's just so good. I adore him.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most interesting kaiju on the wiki, at least I think.
And I love how his art shows like him slobbering behind his muzzle and it's like leaking out.
Yeah, there's just something kind of interesting about him. He's definitely one of the edgiest kaiju on the forums, but
yeah. This is
at the same time, he's one of the first edgiest kaiju on the forums.
Yeah, I guess he has that advantage. Once again, seniority rules. But yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not much else to say about him besides the fact that he's just so good. I love Scows.
He's very interesting, and I definitely have a lot of love for the character.
So yeah, definitely a cool kaiju. Definitely worth checking out. And that's it for him.
Yep.
We talked about Gaonaga. We talked about Scouse. Spanling. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we go?
Colossal Kaiju comic.
Oh yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Basically, that's still in development. I'm the colorist for it. In case you guys
are unaware.
Yeah, not aware. But basically, we're trying our hardest to get that out really quick here. So hopefully, either before this episode is up or a little bit after this episode is up, we will have something to show you guys. But until then, we're still trying to get it all edited. All the pages are done and colored. We just need to get the dialogue all in there, get it all golden and good to go, and everything all packed up and ready. So hopefully that can happen soon.
So yeah, guys, be sure to look forward to that. With any luck, it'll be coming up soon in these upcoming months, and we'll be able to talk about it here on the podcast, hopefully. Maybe we'll have a specific episode dedicated to the first issue where we discuss it and the story and whatnot.
Yay!
That actually sounds like a really good idea in retrospect. In regards to future ideas for the episodes, live stream episode is still kind of up in the air. We're basically just waiting for a better matchmaking system in Kaiju Land Battles. I do have a new PC, and I don't know how well it runs video games. So that's also a thing, but that shouldn't be an issue because I do have a backup. The other episode that should be coming up sooner or later, we're going to have an episode talk about licensed kaiju eventually. So you guys can look forward to that. We don't know exactly when. It maybe the episode after next, because after the next episode is going to be the last episode about the senior kaiju. And then we just move on to the rest. So maybe it's kind of like an icebreaker in between, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, our mailbag remains empty. I'm considering opening up an email where people can just email us their questions, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a question. Maybe we'll start giving questions for people to answer. Yeah. And you can maybe just tell stories about the kaiju universe and you and it, just whatever.
Maybe.
We'll see how that goes out. We'll probably know by next episode, guys. So don't you worry. With that said, I have been Sharktopus117. You can all call me Sharky.
I have been Spotted Alien. Thank you for listening.
And have a good one.